Welcome back to the Hustle Unfiltered podcast hosted by Kayla Serta and Jackson Mansudi,
where we dive into raw, unfiltered conversations about training, health, and fitness while navigating the challenges of life and business in our 20s. Hello, guys. Welcome to the very first episode of the Hustle Unfiltered podcast, hosting Jackson Mansudi
and Kayla Serta.
So you guys probably know us as separate entities, but we are obviously in a relationship and we decided to start a podcast together because why not?
Why not? We already talk to each other 24/7, so we may as well record it because sometimes I feel like we say good things.
Yeah, and we want to test our relationship even more.
Is the camera on?
Yeah, why?
Because the red button's not on.
Yeah, but when it's streaming through the thing, it doesn't actually.
I was going to say, do we just do all that?
No.
Okay.
Why don't you take the lead as to where you would like to take this podcast?
Oh, scary. No, we want to go through, obviously, because we both know each other like separately, and our audience is probably going to come separately. So we're going to go through kind of how we got started, go through our training journey, take a trip down memory lane.
What's the real reason we want to start this podcast, though?
To talk about it.
To talk about what?
To talk about training and what it's like to be chasing our own sort of goals and passions in the gym, but also run a business alongside that. Have a healthy, thriving relationship as well together, and also with our other relationship with family, friends, and just what it's like to be trying to slay our 20s together.
Yeah, I think, as we know, our Instagram is like a highlight reel. Yeah, like we post the good and we try to show the struggles, but it's obviously a very difficult task to do that sometimes. Like I think, when we try to tell a story and, express some of the things we've gone through, it's not very come across that well because it's short form content.
Yeah, you can't really get a lot from a 15-second reel or even a minute reel or
carousel.
Even, like it just doesn't translate the same. And to go through a lot of the struggles or explain that to someone, or for someone to understand, it's like there's so much of a backstory that leads you there. It's like we'd be here fucking reading a book on Instagram if we were to go through it.
Yeah, I think it's important as well that we share that stuff that we've been through, like separately as well as together, because as anyone would know, like running a business is not easy. Trying to be bodybuilders is not easy. Trying to show up in multiple different ways is not easy. Like we struggle with a lot. Like not to say, oh, fucking poor me, but it's just like we do go through a lot to get to where we're going or where we're at now.
Yeah, and I think where I've struggled to understand that is not seeing this side of things being in doing what we're doing. Like, because we've also consumed the highlight reels.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So it's like even understanding that when we got into business training, all the things, it's like we saw all the good stuff of it and it's like we wanted that, but we didn't understand all the struggles that would come with it. So it's like in a way, if you're in the same position, if you are looking to pursue bodybuilding, if you're looking to pursue massive goals in the gym, a business, relationships, whatever, it's like we want to be able to give you what we kind of needed in a sense, getting to where we are.
You know what the funny thing is? I think if someone told me what was involved in one, a business, and two, anything else, I don't know if I would have pursued it, to be honest.
Even I say this with clients when I was still doing face-to-face and we talk about like content and stuff, I was like, I thought I'd just write your programs and like see you for an hour a week and like that'd be my job. I don't think I'd be writing programs, doing admin work, doing emails.
Yeah.
I just realised I'm missing a nail. I was meant to glue that on before we
Oh, you're banned. You're not allowed to be on the podcast.
It's so ugly. It looks like I'm missing half my finger.
Yeah, no, I think as well for me, it's like when you look at it, like even just watching someone PT on the gym floor, when you watch it, you're like, that looks like fun.
Yeah. It's like cool. We just get to train and like talk about what to do and like building muscle. That's so fun. And it's like, no, you've also got 50 other hats to wear that you didn't know.
Yeah. No,
and you're just collecting hats along the way, I feel.
Yeah, 100%. And it's like as you said, no one told you that you had to be the admin person. You had to be the financial manager. No one told you that you needed to make content and do all these sort of things, especially if you want to be someone who is at a very high level, good at what they do as well. Yeah.
I think if you want to just do PT, not even just do, like I'm not even saying that that's like a just thing. It's like if you just are here for training and you're happy to do that, then it's like that's probably all you will do.
Yeah, well, we know some amazing face-to-face personal trainers.
And then it's just if there's more to it or if you want to build a business bigger than just yourself.
Yeah.
there's so much more to it.
Yeah, which we'll get into.
Yeah.
But what about yourself? Like, I guess start with training. Like, how did you, because obviously we both fell in love with training first, and then we're like, how can we make this a job?
Yeah.
So I think it's worth probably sharing like your journey into the gym and like why you started training.
Yeah. I think like any other 16-year-old girl in high school, started wanting to be skinnier, wanted to be smaller. So I got into the gym when I was 16, and it was literally just like, I want to have abs. I want to have a thigh gap. Mind you, I wasn't a big girl. I just was like, but I didn't like the way I looked. And I always felt like I was the bigger girl in the friendship group. So I wanted to change that.
Did you have any aspirations of someone that you wanted to look like? Like, was there a person that like sort of triggered that to take the action?
It became that, like Tammy Hembrow became like my fixation at one point, but not at the start. Because I don't even think I had started watching the YouTube videos yet. Like I got into the gym first, and then I started watching YouTube videos.
What, like, I know it's hard to remember, but like, what was the trigger? Like, what moment did you sort of like, did you be like, fuck, I need to go to the gym? Yeah, okay. There's always something.
Yeah, that was definitely the trigger, but it's weird because the gym was always one of those things where I'd see, because we'd catch the bus to East Gardens, and then East Gardens would take us to school. So I'd always see people waiting at the bus stop at when we go past East Gardens, and they'd have their gym bag, a coffee mug, and they'd like go to their corporate role.
Yeah,
and I was like, I want that to be me. Like, that's so fucking cool. You have a gym bag with you. You got your coffee mug. Like, that's such an adult thing to do. Like, I want that to be me. That was also part of it.
Classic Kayla trying to be an adult before she's even.
Yeah, like what 16-year-old thinks that? I don't know. I just, for some reason, I wanted that. But that, and then, like at that period of time as well, obviously wanted to change how I look, but also went through like a break period with the person I was with at the time. And I thought that in order to feel good about myself, I should change the way I look, and he would love me.
Well, we all know how that worked out.
Yeah, it's all right. We live and we learn and we grow from it. But that's like kind of what got me started. And I feel like my entry into the gym was quite, I don't know, it wasn't say smooth sailing, but it wasn't as intimidating, I feel, because the gym I was training at had like a female only section. So I kind of got introduced to it just being that, like, got given a program from the PT there. They do like the intro sort of packs. So I got a program from them, and I just followed it and went up to the female section. At the time, I think I was going after school or before school, one or the other. Just go there, do my thing. And if I was going after school, I'd then go do dancing, go do my netball, like all that as well. So I was doing everything at the time. And I did that for like the first year, was very much that. And like, I couldn't see the changes physically, but once I started having other people tell me like, you look skinnier, Kayla, like, you've lost weight. Then I was like, oh.
Yeah, I was going to say, did you make progress?
I definitely lost weight. And you can see it like in my face when I look back at photos, I look like skeletal.
Like gaunt.
Yeah, like the chin and like just even my arms were so like lanky and skinny. Like I'd probably put on a little bit of muscle because it was like 3 weight days and then 1 cardio day. I'd do like 15 minutes on the Stairmaster, 15 minutes on the treadmill, 15 minutes on the elliptical, 15 minutes on the bike. That would be my cardio day. But like, I think I probably would have put on a little bit of muscle, and I definitely got smaller, but I still wasn't happy. Like, I still was like, oh, they said I'm skinny, but like, there's a roll. I don't like that. Keep going, keep doing more. And then eventually the gym kind of became more of like, this is actually something I really enjoy. I loved that it was just on me because I played so much team sport growing up. It's like, if you go well, that's great, but it's also on the team to do well as well.
Yeah.
Where I was like, I realized that this is all on me to keep going.
I think it's worth mentioning because, as I said, I spoke about this yesterday with the boys. But it's like, what point did you sort of be in the gym and be like, I actually really enjoy this? Because everyone's trigger to go there is because they probably don't feel good about themselves. Like, that's just the core reason of most of the time people go to the gym. But I think
why you get started anyway.
I think what keeps you there is more than that. And it's like, well, what did you have like a moment in the gym where you're like, fuck, like I really enjoy doing this? Or did you go home and look at yourself and be like, I can really see myself doing this?
I feel like I had multiple parts of that, because even when you said that early this morning, I was thinking like when I had that, and I was like, there was like kind of phases to that. I think where I actually realized I really enjoyed it was when I was a year later and I quit all the other stuff I was doing. Like after school activities, I was like, the gym is everything I want to do.
Yeah.
And that's also when I started getting invested in watching like Whitney Simmons, Christian Guzman, his missus at the time. Like, that's when I got so immersed in that world.
Yeah.
And that's also when I was like, I would love to do this as a job. Like this is when I was like, yeah, I'll definitely do personal training. Like that's my thing. And I even tried to do it when we were in high school, but they didn't allow us because it's a 2-year course. And I was in my last year of school. So I'd say like that probably was my first entry point of like, yeah, this is something I can do forever. And like, I don't see myself not going. But I'd say then the second part of that where I knew that this is absolutely something I do for enjoyment, because that was still enjoyment, but also like I want to build muscle. Like that's when I started to learn a bit more about like those physique goals to have and like protein and all the things. I'd say the second time around where I knew 100% like this is just actually just part of who I am, and I'm not going to the gym because I'm not getting results. Just like this is just what I do.
Yeah.
Was probably after I went through a sticky period where I stopped training as consistently as I was, and I saw the effects of that, not just like physically, but also mentally. Like I didn't feel like I was the person that I knew I could be because I wasn't in the gym.
Yeah.
Or like showing up for myself, and a way to show up for myself is going to the gym, setting goals, looking after my health, looking after my body, doing strength training, like the discipline, all that sort of stuff. And I'd say where that's really solidified was after that point. And when I did my photo shoot, like that sort of period. Whereas now I'm like, I've told you, I'm going to be that grandma that's like 80 years old, still in the gym. Like we had a conversation the other day where he was like, what do you see yourself doing after like the bodybuilding era? Because it's like you can't just be pursuing it till the end of time.
Yeah. Well, you can, but it's probably not the most healthiest thing in the world.
But I don't know if you've seen like she's like a Gymshark athlete. She's like in her 80s. She's like this fit lady. She's pretty big on Instagram, but she's like a grandma. And I'm like, that's going to be me. Like I'm going to be going to the gym with my grandchildren and my great-grandchildren until the end of time. It's not leaving.
And then from there, so obviously that probably took us up to the photo shoot, and you were already PTing at the time.
Yeah, I started PTing in 2020. I did my course. I think end of 2020 is when I started. Yeah, because when I finished school, I really wanted to do personal training. I was like, yeah, this is 100% something I'm going to be doing, but I didn't want to study anymore. I was sick of school. I was sick of doing homework. I was like, I just want to make money and like live my best life whilst also still go to the gym and do all the things and have time on my hands. So I got a job at the airport. I worked there for, I think it was like 2 or 3 years before obviously the world crumbled, shit show, absolute everything, absolute mess. And then obviously the airports got affected. So I still had a job and I was still working, but it was like going from working 5-6 days a week to working like 1 day a week. So I had all this time on my hands and I was like, what can I do with it? There was obviously online PT courses at the time as well, still running. So I was like, this is the perfect opportunity for me to just send it and do my studies. I've got nothing else to do with my life.
Didn't want to do any more studying, but jumped into a study course.
I just wanted to have a full calendar and highlight things. That's actually the real reason. And I was training at 2 separate gyms at the time. I was in my hybrid girly era where I was doing cardio classes in the afternoon, strength training in the morning, that sort of stuff. And the cardio gym that I was at, or like the group class gym I was at, was kind enough to allow me to do my work placement there. I got offered a job there, and that's basically where I started my career in the fitness industry. And for the first year being in there, I was doing group classes, learning how to train people in a group setting, which I feel like everyone sometimes start with. I feel like we either start on the group class or we start as a receptionist. I feel like they're the two.
Yeah, but I think there's a lot of value in it though, because I did both.
I've definitely learned a lot from it, and like at the time I thought I didn't, but I look back, I'm like, I literally spoke in front of 30 people every single morning. I learned how to thrive on 4 hours sleep and how to get up early in the morning. I learned how to demonstrate and how to work with so many personalities as well, which at the time I didn't think that was a skill I needed to know. And now I'm like, that absolutely was a skill I needed.
Even just being able to cue someone like quickly, like, because obviously you can't spend 45 minutes with them. So just being able to be like, oh, you just move your leg here, fix your arm here, and be like, cool, move on.
While there's like 20 other people in the class, music is pumping, you've got to keep the energy alive. You can't just be sitting in the corner just like...
The group classes, you really have to...
You have to show up, and like, there was definitely times where I was like, I don't fucking want to be here. Like, I'm exhausted, but it's like, you still show up anyway. Yeah.
I feel like they were good to wake you up too, because you'd always feel pretty pumped.
Oh my God.
Because you feed off other people's energy.
My ears would be ringing by the end of the morning. It'd be like 9 a.m. and I'm like, okay, I'm ready. This is like bedtime now. I've just been awake for like what's felt like 8 hours. But I started doing that. And then when the world decided to shut down the second time round, that's when the one-to-one coaching aspect started to be built up. And obviously we weren't able to do the classes. We weren't able to train people properly because we didn't have the gym access. But luckily where I was working, because there was a massive driveway, we got to bring all the equipment outside. So we were still able to train.
I love the logic in that. It's like move equipment into outdoor and you can train.
Yeah, it's like if roller door open, no good. Four walls, no good. Outside, yes.
Yeah, like
it was so stupid, but it is what it is. And obviously as well, we were still doing some coaching, like group classes at the time, but we also wanted more income coming in. So even the owner of the gym and the boss, he like prompted us. He was like, why don't you guys start doing just like personal training? You know, like you'll make good money. You've got the equipment access. It's like, what else have you got to do?
At the time it was within very good guidelines because it was just 1 to 2 people. Like
yeah. And I was like, fair enough. And then with that started just like I made my Instagram account, called it Kayla Soda Coaching. How original. And then like that's kind of where I built up the one-on-one aspect. And even to this day, I still have one of my girls that have been with me since.
Oh, really?
Then. Chloe,
wow.
yeah.
Oh, yeah, Chloe, yeah.
Chloe, she's been with me since literally that
that's
point
crazy.
in time, which is wild. So, yeah, and that's basically how that grew up. And then went back to normal, did the classes and the one-on-one at the same time. And then I just realized that, like, this group classes just isn't my thing. It's not the clientele I want to work with. It's not the passion I have in the gym. Like, I like the strength training aspect. I like the tracking macros, the nutrition. Like, it's more than just like going and getting a sweat. Like, that's not my passion. That doesn't align with my values. So
I feel like as well though for you, like, and worth noting, it's like when we're early into our careers, we kind of direct our passion into where we enjoy our training as well. And I know you had just sort of your hybrid era and then your CrossFit type vibe. But then at what point when did the bodybuilding stuff come around and when did you shift a lot of your coaching to physique outcomes?
I think when I realized that what I wanted to achieve, I was not getting it doing what I was doing, because I was going through that yo-yo of like, okay, I train twice a day. I hit my 1,000 calories burn on my Apple Watch and I still look like shit. Like I still feel and look like shit. Like there was a time where we did like there was like a boxing camp going on at the gym and I was doing that. And I trained twice a day, 7 days a week for 10 weeks.
Fuck, that sounds tiring.
And I like lost a lot of weight because it's like you're fucking burning, like you're doing all these things.
Yeah, so much output.
Ate clean, did all that. And then I looked like a balloon after 2 weeks because I just ate like normal again, stopped training twice a day, 7 days a week. And I was like, this is just not it. And then because I realized that and I was following a few coaches, I was like, oh, maybe I should just like build muscle and maybe I should just focus on my training. Like I want to be strong. Like I'd see all the stronger girls on Instagram and the ones with the nice glutes and the nice upper body. And I'm like, I'd love to look like that. I want to look like I train. Whereas right now I just look like skinny fat.
Yeah.
And I was just a small, lighter version of myself. But I was like, I don't look in the mirror. I'm like, oh, like you go to the gym. I'm like, oh, like, that's not really what I want it to look like, but let's try something different. So that's when I invested in my first coaches to get me there. And that's when I went through my first build phase. And I even put a post about this. Like I saw some results, but I did the build phase and got too excited and ate more food and just got fat, put on muscle, but definitely got more fat.
I think everyone has to go through that though. I remember obviously when I did that, like I think there's so many people I know who have to go through that first build phase to learn the lessons. Like some people know, some people need to go through it themselves. Yeah,
for sure. But I'd say that point is where I was like, yeah, this is the avenue I want to go down. And the passion.
Yeah.
And it was cool to because I trained females as well. Like I still always said from the beginning, I just want to train girls. Because being in a group environment, I trained some of the boys and I was like, you don't fucking listen to me. And I'm sick of it. So it was like, oh, fix your deadlift. Like this is why your back hurts. And they're like, no, it's good. And then the next day they're like, Kayla, my back hurts. I'm like, fucking told you, bro. Like, I'm not dealing with you. You're not listening to me. Yeah. So from the very beginning, I was like, I knew I just want to train females. I want to help females. Like I knew how much at the time already training had positively impacted my confidence, my life, my strength. So I was like, I want to give females or other girls the opportunity for that. And I did train a couple men, but yeah, there was no like desire. I was like, like, you're strong, which is cool, but I'm like, you're also like half listening to me. So I'm like, you're annoying.
Yeah.
Go away.
Fair enough. Know your strengths.
Yeah.
And then from there, you were at that gym, and then once I feel like, obviously I wasn't in your life at the time, but from what I understood of what you've told me, it's like you were doing that. And then as you sort of made that transition with your own physique goals and coaching, you kind of switched gyms at the time too.
Yeah. So because I knew I wanted to go all in on one-on-one, I wanted to build up my business. I was happy doing them both, but I just couldn't put all my focus in my business because I'm still getting up at 3:30, 4 a.m. every day, doing classes for half the day. Then I also had work to do for that. And it's like the only time I had time to do my PT sessions was in the afternoons. And because it was a group training gym, I had to navigate classes. So it's like there was a 2-hour window for that. So I'm like, okay, yeah, this just isn't working, or this just isn't aligning with what I want. So then I moved to a different gym where I got to rent out the space, got to run my business how I wanted it to, which was good. And it was a great kind of stepping stone into that environment, but definitely wouldn't have built the business I have to this day being there, or even built the confidence as a coach being there, because I was the only female coach doing what I was doing. It was a CrossFit gym, but they had a little gym on the side.
I think you need to be in that space where you rent the space and you're kind of thrown into somewhat of a deep end where it's like, get your clients, obviously.
That was a deep end, all right. That was a very deep end.
Yeah, no, of course. You were at a very high level gym. There was a lot of great coaches there. Like, But even then with that, like that was the kind of the only option I had, or it was to go to a big box gym. And I was like, I don't want to lose the clients I have now. And I was lucky enough to bring a lot of the clients I had to where I was. But I also didn't have the opportunity to build a big client base there, because that's not what they were. Yeah, no, of course. Yeah, it was more of a you come here for a goal. There's a bit of an exclusivity to it,
Yeah.
But yeah, I think as well for you, what was like the biggest sort of, well, actually before that, continue on, because you did that for how long, and then you went online?
Well, so that gym, I was only there for 6 months. This isn't the last gym I worked at. There was a transition period.
That's right. There was too.
And that was also when I went through a pretty low time in my life where everything felt like it was just getting crumbled underneath me, all aspects. And then I decided to change gyms. That's when I started kind of falling out of love with the gym, and that's where I found myself not looking after myself. And then obviously Paddo moved from Paddington to Banks Meadow, and I was like, oh, they have like really cool people training there.
Yeah.
They train.
That's what I was referring to. Yeah.
They all train exactly how I train. I'm like, look at how strong these women are. Like, that's fucking awesome. I need to be in that environment. Yeah. And that was just as a trainee. Like, that wasn't even like coaching aspect. I was like, I just need to train there. So that's when I got my membership there first. And started training there, started to getting to know the coaches, and Cameron would have some chats and he'd give me tips on my lifting. And I was like, this is so cool. Like, I kind of like training again. And then I was very fortunate enough to start working there as well. And that's definitely was like the biggest blessing for business and also personally, that allowed me to get out of that sticking point where I was in my life. In both business, and then same thing, at the time I didn't have a coach, but then as I started getting more comfortable there, training there, and seeing a lot of that kind of love for training rebuild again, that's when I stepped back into coaching with a face-to-face coach and going from there.
Because when you started at Paddo, you were like in a rough place, eh?
Very.
Yeah.
Very rough place, yeah. Not doing very well in a lot of aspects, and it was... At the time, I thought I was good. Like, I knew I wasn't good, but I thought, like, I was very ignorant to the fact of where I was going. And then there was just like a turning point where I was like, if I keep doing what I'm doing, I'm going to lose the business. I'm going to lose a lot of things.
Yeah.
Like, very, very, very dark times. But yeah, it was just like, it was that turning point. It's like, if I don't change this, like, I looked in the mirror and I didn't recognize who I was. Not even just physically, just like mentally. I'm like, you're not the person you want to be.
Yeah. And then how long were you there for?
At Paddo?
Yeah.
It's been 3 years, I think.
3 years, wow.
2 years?
And in that time, you got to meet the love of your life too.
I know. Here we are.
And then where'd you go from there?
And now we are even building the business even bigger, I decided to step away from face-to-face coaching in November last year. So that was, I think it was nearly 4 years on the gym floor between one-on-one coaching and the group classes. And then, just seeing where the business has grown to and where I want to, just like what my vision is for the business. It's much bigger than just me being in a gym. It's like there's impact that needs to be made on the entire world. So the direction of doing that is moving the business online and building out more than just the face-to-face element, the one-on-one element, and making it a bit of a worldwide sort
of a movement.
Bit of a movement, bit of a standard, a mission.
A mission.
It's a bit of a mission.
What is the plan for Kayla Soda Coaching moving forward? Like, what's the goal?
Take her to the world. I was having this conversation on my YouTube video the other day, and it's about like, I know that what I've been through up until this point and what I've learnt and what I've been able to experience and who I've been able to grow into, definitely not 110% the person I want to be yet, but like to see how much progress I've made on a personal level, on a business level, even just like confidence in relationships, confidence in life, and like my ability to be who I am, has all stemmed from being in the gym. It has stemmed from training hard, from setting goals, achieving goals, pushing yourself to different limits in the gym where it's like, fuck, I never thought I'd be able to RDL 100 kilos, but here I am doing it. And it's just like, it's mind boggling, but I'm like, that's something I want to impact as many women around the world to be able to experience on their own. Because if it wasn't for all that stuff, I wouldn't have met you. I wouldn't have the relationship we have together. I wouldn't be having the relationships I do have with the people in my life, or even just like bodybuilding, for example. Like I always wanted to compete, but for the wrong reasons in the past.
Yeah, it was more of a place of hatred.
It was a place of hatred. I didn't like where I was uncomfortable in my body. I was unhappy with my life, but like, I love everything now. It's like, cool, this is an opportunity for me to just take it that next level.
Yeah.
So I feel like as well, I always felt like I was really good at things growing up, and even with the sports I played and whatnot, I was like, I was always good at them, but I was never great. Yeah. And I could have been great, but I didn't have that confidence to push myself that next step. Whereas the gym taught me I can do that. So now I'm like, that's why I'm also stepping into doing bodybuilding this year, because it's like, I'm already good at what I'm doing. How can I be even greater? How can I be excellent? How can I be a fucking weapon in that?
Yeah.
So that's the mission.
That's the mission. Last question. 3 biggest struggles that you learned from the beginning of your journey. 1 in business, 1 in training, and then 1 in personal life.
As in like, what struggles did I overcome?
Yeah. Or like, what were the biggest sort of like challenges that you faced, and then sort of the lessons that came from them?
I feel like training definitely is not staying a beginner or not having a growth mindset for the first 7 years of being in the gym. Like I thought, because I spent so long already in the gym, I watched all the YouTube videos and I was consistent, but I didn't look like I was. I thought I knew everything. Yeah. And I kind of kept myself from learning anymore because I was like, well, I've been doing it for so long. Like,
yeah, I think that's common though as well, because it's like,
yeah, it is.
The knowledge that we have access to on fitness.
There's so much.
It's like, oh yeah, I know what a calorie is. I know what training is. It's like, no, you don't.
No, but I think I'd say that was the biggest lesson I learned, is like, that was something I struggled with for so long. And it wasn't until I just stopped being like an egotistic bitch and just reach out for help, and there's nothing wrong with that. And even I'd say only in the last like 2 to 3 years being with the coach I'm with now and my previous coach, I actually fully immersed myself in that. Whereas before I was like, I still kind of know a little bit, like, should I listen to you? Like, I don't know. Whereas now I'm like, you tell me what to do and I will take that on board because I trust you and like you're getting me to where I am. So I'd say still being in that beginner mindset, you're never going to know too much, and apply whatever it is that they're telling you to do first before you decide whether or not it's
good or bad
or works for you or not. So I'd say that would be like the training element. Business, you could probably say the same thing, to be honest.
Yeah, probably just
I could
not
probably
getting
say the same.
in over your head.
Yeah, and business is just it's funny because you can relate so much of it to training, and I definitely can see where I'm at with training and where I am at with my personal goals of like, okay, something I used to struggle with in this realm, I've definitely overcome now, but I can see how that is something that I'm now doing in business as well. Yeah. So I need to overcome that. So I'd say, that would be the biggest struggle, even just like my own sort of self-doubt. It's definitely got better. It's not amazing, but like doubting my abilities to be able to achieve what I want. And then the lesson in that is just like, still keep going, still keep doing it, ask questions. And that's still a lesson I'm learning to this day.
No, definitely. Well, let me talk about myself.
Yeah, over to you, Mr. Mansuri.
So for me, I started training. I don't think I've told a lot of people this, but like I remember when I started training for girls. Like that was my main priority. Like I wanted to attract the opposite sex.
And
like,
now you just attract the same sex.
Yeah, now I just have guys in my DMs saying, "Bro, you look so good." No, for me it was like, like I liked a girl, and
what's her name?
And like I think there was another friend of mine that also liked the girl, and she went for him, and he was like a taller dude, lankier, like he wasn't muscular, but he had like that skinny muscle physique, like like lean type of
lean
physique.
string bean.
Yeah, and I was like, I mean, I'm Italian, so you can only imagine what I looked like when I was a kid. So like for me, I remember that feeling really sucked. Yeah, and I really didn't. Same to you, like I wasn't confident with how I felt, and for me, I was like, I need to do something about this. So, as any other kid who's 16 or 15 or young, I think I was 15. Yeah, I was like, I need to do sit-ups, I need to do push-ups, like
the home workouts.
Yeah, the home workouts, and then I remember this girl, her brother, like because I was friends with this person as well, so I'd hang out with them and I'd go to their house and I met their family and stuff. And her brother was a personal trainer.
Yeah.
And I remember one time, back when you would speak on Skype and shit. Like,
oh my god, yeah, MSN.
MSN, Skype, like I was on Skype and we'd do like group Skype calls with like all of our friends and stuff. Like I was a fucking nerd, man.
I know.
And like I remember her brother came on one day and was like, "Bruh, just fucking get jacked, get shredded." He was obviously G'ing me up as well. Like there was no real seriousness to this conversation. And like, insecure Jackson was just like, yeah, like I got to get big. I got to just, be smart. I got to, get shredded. And I remember like going to my dad and being like, can we use the weights downstairs? Like, we had a downstairs area, like garage, and had a weight set with the preacher curl at the end of the bench press. Yeah. Like, and I started training with him and we would do workouts every day. And, at the time, like Ziz was the thing. And I found that and I was like getting obsessed with that. And then I remember like I came across this. Do you remember Elliot Hulse?
That name sounds familiar.
He was like this American dude on YouTube, and he was like one of the first guys to be putting out like fitness content, but like not vloggy content. It was like educational content. Like people would ask him questions and he would show his workouts and explain why he was doing it. It was like the first like, and he had his own gym in like Florida or something. And he would have this thing called like open gym where it was like on a Saturday anyone could come in. Yeah. And he would like film it, and he was an ex like football player. He was I think he was in the army as well. So he was like putting out all this fitness content, and he was the first guy that really like made me understand that in order to make progress in anything in life, you need to do hard things. He was like the original Goggins, like he was
Elliot Goggins.
He was like putting out saying, people would ask him questions about relationships. So I was like learning all this stuff, and I was like, fuck, I want to be this guy. Yeah. He's a bit weird now. He's gone down this whole like spiritual route.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's like still exists, but like he's been cancelled.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because he just says some wacky shit.
Yeah.
So in your relationship, without floating your relationship, one's overheating, one is starting. Right?
Yeah, and I remember, I found martial arts, and I didn't really make much progress at that time when I was, I wasn't really eating much better. I was like falling in the trap of like, supplements is the answer. I bought the protein powder, bought the creatine, loaded the creatine.
What brand?
Oh, I don't even remember it.
Mine was Women's Best. I was a Women's Best.
The protein was always gold standard, like that. Yeah. Optimum nutrition was like king.
Yeah.
Yeah, then I found martial arts, and when I did that, that was like a big thing for me because I, didn't have a lot of confidence as a kid, and for me, learning martial arts was a way for me to. That was where I fell in love with training.
Yeah.
You know,
how old were you when you started?
15.
Yeah.
So I did it for 5 years.
Yeah.
And I got pretty decent. You know, I was pretty good. I did some competitions, and you know, at the time, it taught me a lot from a values mindset, and it taught me a lot from a discipline mindset, like doing hard things. And I fell in love with training at the time. That's when I really discovered like being in a very in the moment flow state type vibe. Like that's what really gave me that. And I think the values that I learned throughout that really helped me a lot at that time of my life, and has taught me a lot even to today.
Yeah.
Like just to do things even when you don't want to. And I did that for 5 years. I competed in that, but throughout this whole time, like I always was wanting to be muscular. I always wanted to be jacked. I still looked at bodybuilders. I still looked at people who were big and wanted to be like the jacked Muay Thai guy. Like I remember looking up how on Google how to be a jacked Muay Thai fighter. Literally, that was the shit I was.
Is that even? That's not a thing.
No, it's not.
They're lean.
They're lean,
strong,
but they're
not jacked.
No, having muscle in martial arts is not really the most favorable thing. Like,
yeah,
really
that is so funny.
They don't go hand in hand.
It's really like this random jacked person.
Yeah, yeah. And I did that, and then I wanted to make it. I still loved martial arts, number one, for the whole time, and I competed in karate, taekwondo, competed in Muay Thai, competed in different variations of those things. And it was like, fuck it, I'm gonna give this a go. And at the time in my life as well, I met my partner at the time through that, and we were together for 2 years, and then that kind of broke off. Well, I think, you know, as anyone who's in those teenage years, you grow a lot as a person, and you kind of distance and just had different values in life. And for me, I was like, I want to give this a red hot crack. And I had no idea what I wanted to do with my life. Like at the time, PT wasn't even a thought.
Yeah.
But I did do teaching for martial arts at the time. Like I was teaching taekwondo to kids, I was teaching Muay Thai to some young adults. And I was definitely you know, I was running the warm ups in the classes. I was so I was exposed to coaching.
Yeah.
And it was definitely something I enjoyed doing.
Yeah.
And then I went to Thailand for about 3 or 4 months and gave it a crack and realized it was not for me. But it taught me a lot. You know, I will honestly say that I credit myself to have the balls to do that, because it takes some guts to go and just be 18 years old, leave the country. I'm going to live in another country. And
a non-English speaking country.
Non-English speaking country and give it a crack. And it just wasn't for me. I looked at myself one day and I was like, I'm not good enough to be successful this sport. I could honestly say that.
Yeah.
The money in it was not there.
Yeah.
And I wasn't enjoying it.
Yeah. I feel like if your passion was strong enough in that way, you're like, I don't care about the money, but you were this is just something I want to do forever and ever, whether I get it or not. And I feel like that's a different story, but I feel like this just wasn't it.
Yeah, and then I also asked myself, I was training 4 hours a day, and I was getting beat up by Thai kids, literally. And I was like, do I want to be 40 years old punch drunk?
Yeah.
You know, if I have a kid one day, I don't want to not be able to remember his fucking or his or her name because yeah, and I just had a hard look at myself. And at the time, that's why I actually discovered James Smith.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, throughout that time, I was you know, learning who he was. He was on the up and coming.
Yeah.
And I was like, fuck, man, this guy's living the life.
How old was that? 2019.
Yeah, 2019. He was still putting out the landscape IGTV videos.
Oh,
that were 10 minutes long on Instagram.
Yeah, wow. Is IGTV still a thing?
I don't think so.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, so I discovered that, and I was like, oh, this is mad. Fucking, you know, I want to live this life, where he's putting out content and whatnot. And yeah, so I came back, and let me tell you, I was in a very bad place.
Yeah. When
I got back, for a good, I'd say, probably 6 to 8 months, maybe longer.
Yeah.
I was not happy with my life. It was on Seek, applying for every job that I could just to make some money. I was not in a financial position that was positive. I was not in a mindset that was positive. I was spending money partying every weekend. I was, you know, doing God knows what. I was never home. I was always sleeping at my mate's place. And then I finally got a job at Crunch Fitness where I was living at the time in Canberra. And I still had a lot of growing to do at the time, but it was definitely a point where I was like, okay, like, you know, I applied for my PT course and was like, I'm going to, try and do this. And I did it online because it was cheaper.
Yeah. Who'd you do it to?
I got a PT.
Yeah.
And let's be real, I did like the first few modules and I was like, whatever. And then I kind of dragged it out for ages. And at the time I was doing CrossFit. I was in my CrossFit era. Yeah. And I loved it. I did competitions, like everything I've done to compete. I can't help myself. I'm a very competitive person. And then I was doing competitions. I did okay with it. And then I went to do my level 1 CrossFit course. And I was like, oh, maybe I'll coach CrossFit because you didn't need to do the Cert 3 and 4. As long as you had that under the banner of CrossFit, you could just literally coach that. But like, for me, it was like, I think one of the things I realized on a personal level in my life, I would say, look, I have a great dad. I don't want to shit on him. And he did the best he could, but he was a very wogger mentality man. And he was the breadwinner of the family, and that was it. But that meant I had a pretty absent father in my life. So every time that I went and found something, I tried to find a father figure in that.
Yeah.
So when I was doing martial arts, the owner of the gym was my father figure. Whatever he said, I did. Same with CrossFit. It was like whoever was there was like, I had a coach there and he was like the guy who would tell me how to live my life. Because I never had that. I never had the guidance. I never had someone showing me what I should be doing. And then I kind of just like I got offered the job at Fitness First because I realized it was time for me to do my course and finish it. So I went and did the face-to-face and it was at Fitness First in Sylvania. Yeah. And the girl there who was running it was like, she could tell I was very invested and passionate. She's like, do you want a job here as a sales rep or a receptionist? And then once you finish this course, you can go to PT. So I did that. I did sales and that taught me a lot. And at the time I was still doing CrossFit and all that sort of stuff. And then my first day as a PT was COVID.
Oh yeah, I remember you telling me.
Yeah, like I literally, my contract changed. I walked in and they're like, can you help us shut down the gym? I was like, sure. So,
Dreams.
Yeah, so I did that, and then at home I was like, I should probably learn a bit more like you. Like I put a lot of effort into study and education and, exposed myself to more of like the bodybuilding world and hypertrophy training and that sort of stuff. And that's where my love for like physique outcomes started again. So it took a long time for me to get there, but I came back to it. And then I was like, also learning about powerlifting and strength sports and Sebastian Oreb was someone I always had in the back of my mind who I looked up to. So I went into powerlifting after that. And when the gym opened up again, I was like, I want to run a business. Like I want to really make something of this. And looking at the clientele there, and I was like, what if I went to Bondi? Because, I'd followed Harry for a long time and I'd seen that he was like killing it there and whatnot. So I trained with him. And I trained with him, and it was a great experience, and he was in his powerlifting era as well, so it was very much aligned with that. And I did that, and then really enjoyed it, learned a lot, learned how to train. And I think also one of the things that I always had was the mindset. Like I think martial arts taught me that.
Yeah.
Taught me how to train with doing hard shit and knowing that you're not always going to enjoy the process because there were some very hard moments in that, and I think that's just allowed me to carry even CrossFit. Like that's fucking hard.
Yeah, CrossFit, you're another type of breed.
Yeah, and I think that's why naturally it came very quick to me because the skill aspect was easy to learn.
Yeah.
Like it just takes time. You just got to show up.
Yeah.
Whereas like the mindset for it, that's very hard.
Yeah.
And I already had that.
From martial arts.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a big thing when people start getting into the gym or when people want to pursue goals in the gym. If you've had a background in any sort of individual sport, gymnastics, martial arts, anything like that, and you've developed that over time from a young age, it's like that'll come actually. Yeah. And I've even coaching clients and just seeing other people that have had that background, they do incredible things with it.
Yeah, and it's funny.
It's just so dialed in.
Because even when you said about team sports, it's like I tried team sports and it was just not for me.
Yeah, I
just was like, knowing that I have to, people need to rely on me and I got to rely on other people. I was like, like,
and I don't think I realized that until I started training, where I was like, oh, this is all on me. This is kind of cool. Like it's actually up to me whether or not I achieve this.
Yeah. So then I was with Harry, and then he was training with Paul. He was doing coach for and I saw the results that he was getting, and I was like, oh, like, you know, I was a kid still at the time, so I was like, I want to, you know, get those results and whatnot. So then I went with Paul, and I was with him for a long time. Yeah, I did my first powerlifting competition with Paul. But then I just sort of like, I was still, throughout this time, I think one of the things that I noticed was I was still just not happy.
Yeah.
Like, I loved the training, but I was still really just not happy with, I think, who I was as a person as well as how I looked.
Yeah.
I think I always, like, sort of went to different extremes. I was either too skinny and had no muscle, or I was too big and had no muscle when I just looked fat.
Yeah.
And then I was like, you know, I want to do a photo shoot. And that's when this whole, like, bodybuilding thing came about. I wanted to compete, but I knew that I probably wasn't ready to compete yet. And the mindset for that took more. So I wanted to do the photo shoot. And so when I found Jason, and that really was just like all she wrote with my training. And at the time with business as well, like I went to Bondi and I went to PT there. And those first 2 years were the hardest 2 years of my life. But I think the mindset that I gained through my training allowed me to persevere, just being extremely stubborn. And going up to every single person on the gym floor, literally saying, can I help you with your deadlift? Can I help you with this? Can I help you with that? Getting turned down 100 times a day and just non-stop stopping. And then built a reputation of being a good coach as well. And then, I spent 4 years at Fitness First. Did the photo shoot, obviously met you at the time. And
both in our photo shoot areas.
Yeah, literally. And then, like, I competed, and I think, you know, if it wasn't for the mindset that I grasped during the early years of my life of, you know, the struggles I went through, firstly, in school.
Yeah.
My parents obviously divorcing and whatnot, which, whose parents aren't divorced these days? It's not, like, the most traumatic experience in the world.
Mine now.
But, like, you know, I think going through those struggles and then being in a sport that relied on myself and taught me a lot of values and made me do hard things, that early stages of my life has set the foundations for where I am now.
Yeah.
And that has allowed me to excel in business. And I just, like, don't take no for an answer.
Yeah.
Like, I will do 10 hours a day. I will show up, and I think my prep was a great example of that. Like, if I walked off stage for the first time when I did my first show, not happy with the result, I looked to Jason and said, I don't give a fuck if I have to get on the cardio machine for an hour a day and eat zero food, I will fucking do it.
Yeah.
And that's just, like, the mindset that I think I've built over the years just by doing hard things.
Yeah. That's cool.
And then, I took the business online this year.
How's that experience been for you so far?
It's been great. Like, I really enjoy it. I think for me, I get to be more of a coach. I get to coach more. I get to be the person pulling the strings more. I get to see people develop more because there's more on it.
Yeah.
I think having a face-to-face coach is great, but I think the people can sort of rely on the coach carrying them a little bit more.
Yeah, 100%. I even know that from my experience when I was training with Cameron, because I was lucky enough to see you every day.
Yeah.
I was very, very blessed to have someone that trained. My coach trained where I trained at the same time every single day. So he was always looking at my list. And we obviously trained together. I did my photo shoot, and then it was Christmas time, and it obviously takes time off over Christmas. And I had to do deadlift session by myself for the first time in like 16 weeks. And I was like, I buckled. I could do it. Because I relied on just having him there so much. And even if I came in having like not the best day, like he was there, he happy to have a chat, and like I walked away feeling really, really good. But when I stepped away from having that face-to-face coach, like this is literally all on me. Like I can't. Like I have to be able to coach myself throughout the day. Yes, I've got Jason in my corner. Yes, I can always ask him questions, but it's like he can't be here holding my hand all the time.
Yeah.
That's on me, and that's my responsibility as well.
Yeah, and I think, and I don't want to put my political views too much into this, but like I think in this world we are coddled a lot.
100%.
We are just very much like spoon-fed a lot of things.
Yeah.
And I think
it's just like the accessibility to things as well, though. I feel like
we live in a world.
Everything's at it. Like you want something from Amazon, comes today.
Yeah.
It's like you don't see a lot of delayed gratification in the world, even dopamine is on Instagram, and that's something I'm learning about a lot. Is like not reaching for that instant gratification or instant dopamine because you're learning that that's how life works. When in reality, it's quite fucking opposite.
Yeah, I mean, I look at my own journey, and I think I don't regret any of it. But I think if I And this is the catch-22 to it. If I had not done the 5 years of martial arts, powerlifting, CrossFit, would I have the mindset to have the physique that I have now? Whereas, like, if I had probably just done the plan that I'm doing now 10 years ago, maybe I would have got the result quicker, but would I have? Because I probably wouldn't have the mindset to do that. I would have been impatient. And I'm still impatient to this day.
Yes, you are. You're very impatient, but so am I.
No, 100%. And I just think, you know, we're, as you said, we live in a world where it's like in business and in training and in life, we want constant gratification. It's like, I want to be told I'm pretty every single day. I want to I want to have the $1 million today. I want to have the physique today. It's like all those things that are required to be really good at require you to do them for a long time without any sort of gratification. And it's like, if you want to be successful at those things, you're not always going to enjoy it. You're not always going to want to show up. I don't want to always go to work. I don't always want to make content. I don't always want to go to the gym. And it's like, oh, I'm not motivated right now. And it's like, I think motivation is important, yes, but it's not always present. And sometimes you can't rely on that, and you just have to ask yourself, what do I value as a person? Because I remember when I first started training, I made my training my identity. It's like, I am this person. It's like, no, I actually have the values of a person who just does the shit they say they're going to do.
Yeah, and training is part of that.
And training is a byproduct of that.
Yeah. I think when it's put onto someone, that's when they miss that. Because it's like, people say that work in 9 to 5 and I'm a boss. It's like, the person they're answering to is the boss. It's an external person. So if they're not motivated to work, they still show up.
Yeah.
Because they have to answer to someone. But when it's any other goal outside of a boss, like, directing them, and it's on them to achieve the goal, it's on them to be motivated, and on them to show up, that's where people start to negotiate with themselves whether or not they're choosing to show up.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting that you say that, because I think as human beings, we like to be told what to do to agree. We like to be led. We like to be, guided. Like us,
isn't that like in our being, like to be led, like to be part of a practice?
It's in our DNA, and even us, like we have mentors who tell us how to run our business.
Yeah.
Because they have a business that we aspire to have.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with coaching. It's like a lot of the people that we coach aspire to have physiques similar to ours.
Yeah.
So it's like we need to lead that. But it doesn't mean that on the journey of that or in that process, you're not always going to want to fucking do it.
Yeah. And I think with the motivation side of things, you're not always going to be motivated, but it's because you kept showing up when you weren't motivated, you get motivated.
Yeah, and you get the result.
Like, even a good example of this was, like, over Christmas. Like, I hated training over Christmas. Like, I was not happy to be in the gym. It was, like, a slog for me to get there. I still showed up. I still went. But it was, like, a 4-week period where I was like, here we go again. Here we go again. And it wasn't until I got over that 4-week period, and it wasn't the training itself. It was stress, Christmas time, other things. And I can't remember I said that. I think I might have said that in my call the other day. But it's like, when you're lacking motivation, it's not the thing itself. There's something else.
Yeah.
But throughout those 4-week periods, I still made great progress. I still kept showing up, still did all the things. And then on the back end of that 4 weeks, I was like, cool, like, I'm motivated again. I've seen I can still show up.
Yeah.
I'm less stressed now. And, like, life is good. And imagine I just stopped in that 4-week period.
Yeah. And I think
feel like
I think people take it for granted because it's like, if you don't show off your physique, it's like you wear the brunt of that. And it's like, oh, whatever, I don't want to go. But it's like, even take it in business or in relationships. You don't show up, you don't get paid.
Yeah.
If you don't show up in your relationship, you won't have one.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm sure when sometimes you don't want to show up for your relationship, you still fucking do it anyway.
Yeah.
You still compliment your missus, or you still go out on to dinners, and you still do it because you know that this is nurturing something that isn't maybe going to pay off right now, but it will long term.
Yeah. And another thing to that too, when the motivation's not there, like, if you can't do it for yourself, do it for someone else.
Yeah.
Like, okay, if you're not motivated to show up in your relationship, it's like, okay, maybe you're not doing it for you, but you're doing it for them. Yeah. In work, okay, I don't want to show up today, but my team needs me, so I'm going to show up for them. Even, like, when I went through that period where I was so unmotivated, I was like, do this for your clients. You tell them to show up on the days they don't want to. Like, do this for them.
Yeah.
Show up for them.
Yeah, I think it's so easy to get caught up in our minds, and obviously it's a lot easier said than done. But yeah, if you don't do that, then you're just letting the future self, the future version of yourself down, and then you're going to get to the end of the part where you're like motivated again. You're like, fuck, I wish I did it.
100%.
That was cool.
That was so much fun for the first episode. This is not my last second time I've recorded this. And I'm really glad I brought that up. It's just so much better.
Alright guys, that is the very first episode of the Hustle Unfiltered podcast. We hope you guys enjoyed the episode. As always, it's a great time for you guys to like the episode, share it on social media, follow on Spotify, so that we can keep bringing you guys really valuable episodes, and follow us on our social medias as well, Coach Jackson Mansudi.
That's coaching.
And we're going to be having a social media for the Hustle Unfiltered podcast as well.
What's that name? Hustle _Unfiltered?
Yeah, Hustle _
Wow, we'll put it in the show notes.
Yeah.